This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded July 1st, 2012. Episode 102, Gouging, Green, Gardyloo.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
What's up, nerd?
Hey, man. Nerd, huh?
Yeah, I think you peaked there.
I did? No.
Nah, that's just my right.
No.
That's just the horrible
just
mumble server.
The usual
Clicking.
bleeps and blorps of the internet are coming through.
Right.
How are things going? What's new?
Oh, it's a nice day here for a change. It's
Really?
cold.
Still winter.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Peak of summer around here. Doesn't get any better than this.
Right.
No, seriously, it does.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
know.
downhill from here.
Exactly.
It's just
That's
straight down into the depths of winter. I got about a week and a half, and it'll be snowing.
right. I was going to say, because you're fairly north, aren't you, in terms of the US? Cleveland's fairly
Yeah,
up there,
it's
isn't
up by
it?
the Great Lakes.
It's
and,
up
yeah,
near
it's
Lake, whatever.
Lake Erie.
Lake Erie. There you go.
Yep,
Yeah.
the 5 Great Lakes,
Snow.
biggest sources of fresh water in the world. Did you know that?
I think I did in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. Yeah.
So people should move here because
Right.
that stuff ain't getting any cheaper. That's actually it's interesting from a like a company perspective. I've talked before about like people should start a fab up here, but I know that's never going to happen.
Right.
But,
Because
like,
you need
like,
water
there is
for a fab.
You do, yeah, you do, and there's a legitimate like argument about it though, just like the amount of water there is up on the Great Lakes, and that's what a lot of people push. Like Michigan here,
Yep.
all along it really, and of course there's the usual infighting amongst all the states around and between Canada too.
Right.
But
Yep.
it's gonna be a really big deal in about 30 years, I think.
Okay.
Maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but.
So do you actually drink this water, or is it? Do you just?
Oh yeah, I got a glass of it right here.
Ah,
Delicious
right.
Lake Erie. I mean, it's all purified and everything, but
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's all pulled from there, and
Sweet.
yeah, it's I wouldn't drink it straight out of Lake Erie. I'll say that.
Right. Oh boy.
But yeah, what about in Sydney? What do you guys do out there?
For water.
Yeah, it's just
Well,
all
we
like
have we
reservoirs?
have dams and reservoirs. Yeah, we have 2 major
okay.
ones in Sydney that feed all of Sydney. So
Okay.
my wife could tell you all about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She's the
She's the water expert.
the scientist. Yep.
Yep, she's the water scientist. There
Yep.
is such a word. Oh boy. You want to know what has happened here though? Huge news here.
What's that?
And as of the 1st of July, that has something to do with electronics, energy, because we all need electricity, right? Where we've introduced a carbon tax here.
Really?
Yes,
Oh.
I don't know if we're the first country to do it. No, I'm sure we're not. But we're like one of the few countries to introduce a carbon tax, and it's been a big hoopla. Like our electricity prices are going to skyrocket now that we've got this carbon
Interesting.
tax. Yeah. So
And have you actually seen your bill yet? I mean,
Well, no,
I doubt that would
actually-
actually be very instant.
Well, the interesting thing is we just got a letter from our electricity supplier because we've always paid like 100% extra, like for 100% green power. So we actually pay
Oh,
double
that's right. You
or
said that
something. Yeah,
before.
so we
Yep.
actually make sure ours comes from new wind technology and solar and all that sort of stuff. So we
and you're just saying you as in you and your wife.
Yes,
and
as in
your
yeah,
household.
because we
Yeah.
can choose that here. You can choose the plan, whereas
Right.
all your money you pay extra, and it goes into building new renewable energy infrastructure. So I put my money where my mouth is. And,
That's great, man.
They sent me a letter saying that our tariff rate is going to drop by 44%, and I thought beauty, as it should. Right? Because
Yeah.
it shouldn't increase because we're already paying a premium for renewable energy, right? So there should be no carbon tax added because,
Yeah.
And but then there's always a but, right? But then they say the service charge is going to rise, and they don't tell you how much. And I reckon
44%.
Yeah, or more, exactly, to offset the thing. So it'll be See, I think that if it suddenly starts costing less, like if our tariff drops by 44% and the other dirty ones increase, right, due to the carbon tax, then, well, it's going to be cheaper to buy renewable power, and that is...
And then the market, more people will be in the market then.
Well, that is unsustainable, and no pun intended, right, because we don't have enough renewable energy infrastructure to provide all the energy for people who would sign up to this plan. It's not magic. You can't just sign up and you magically get it.
Well,
There's only a
eventually
maximum
you start
quota.
buying more panels or more
there's a maximum quota. But, I mean, if it was cheaper, right, people will buy the cheaper thing. That's why they don't buy green power, because it's more expensive, right? That's why they buy dirty coal, because it's cheaper. So
it is darn cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So I don't know what's going to happen. I assume that we're not going to be cheaper than coal, because that's just not going to work. The market's going to collapse overnight. So it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens. So I reckon they're going to artificially bump up these service rates by, 300% or something, which is nuts. I mean, how has introducing a carbon tax just suddenly mean we have to pay more to service it? Like, because the service charge you pay for the line, and all the infrastructure and all the, the guy in the truck to come around and maintain the line when it, all of that sort of infrastructure stuff. And how has that suddenly gone up overnight? It hasn't, right? Just because the government signed in a policy. It's bullshit. So
that's just a business thing, and they're just
price gouging,
messing with you. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I just saw an article today actually about how much it costs to charge an iPad. They say it's $136 a year.
Right.
And we've talked on here before just about the scale of power and how the general public has no clue about the scale of power, right? But if you think about it just in terms of kilowatt hours, right? I know around here, I think I'm not on like a special plan like you are.
Right.
But I think it's like 9 or 10 cents per kilowatt hour or something like that.
Right. No, ours isn't that low.
Right.
Well,
ours is about
obviously, 15, 20. Yep.
Yeah.
No, but even coal. Even coal.
Oh, even coal. Right. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, whatever that is then. Okay, but still, I mean, like
anyway.
Yeah, something like that. But just like the scale of power, right? I mean, it's $136 for you'd think medium-sized capacity is probably what, like maybe 3,000 milliamp hour batteries or something like that, maybe more. I've never looked at the iPad specs, but I mean, like it's still not that much money.
It's tiny.
And the same thing goes. The same thing goes for like EVs right now. Like EVs are super cheap to just charge off your wall because
there's the other news.
Oh, what's that news?
Yeah, the Holden Volt is coming out. It was advertised on the TV last night. The Holden Volt, which is exactly the same as the Chevy Volt, except they've rebadged it Holden, and it's the right hand drive for here. So.
Nice.
Yes, and they made the big deal about it only costs $2.50 to charge it, to charge your tank,
Yeah.
So
right, exactly.
But then again, it only goes 80 Ks or something like that before it.
Right.
If you just use the power.
Yeah, I was who was I talking to? Someone, Andrew Plum on Twitter. I was talking back and forth with him about his Volt. He's had a Volt for a while now, and I think it was him, maybe it was someone else. But he said he's only filled up his gas tank once in like 3 months or something like that. And it's just, man, it's tempting.
I know, it's cool. I'd love one.
I would too. It's just there's a lot of upfront cost, and that's what a lot of people are messing with.
They're so expensive. Yeah, I mean here this Holden Volt, they reckon it's going to be around 60,000.
Yeah,
which puts it well out at 40,000 would have been which I think is the price in the US for the Chevy Volt. I think is about 40 or even 30. I think it's like if you buy it without the leather seats or whatever,
Yeah, it's about 4. Yeah, it's like 38, and then you get like a discount because of subsidies and stuff.
Oh, okay,
so.
Right.
Yeah,
well, that's still doable. Here, but 60 grand that puts it into the well-heeled, upper class, middle to upper class, income earners kind of thing. But then again, there are people, there are average Joes who like buying a $60,000 car, but me, I'd never pay 60 grand for a
Oh,
car. It's
no.
just,
No,
it's crazy.
that's like 6 cars.
Yeah.
If you're buying used or something, that's like 6 cars.
Well, when you can get a perfectly good, brand new compact car for like under 20, like 15.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like that. That's an expensive car.
It's crazy, just this whole idea of it, though. I mean, like, that's big news there, but power. You don't think about it much in the electronics world. You don't really think about the grid distribution stuff like that. But man, that's big business. That's like usually even out of the realm because there's not as much. I mean, there's definitely interesting stuff because it's high voltage. And distribution's really cool, and trying to match phase of when you're actually tying into the grid. All that stuff is kind of cool. But I always have thought of power distribution as just business because usually what you're doing is you're burning something, you're making steam, you're turning something, and then you're shoving that power at everybody on the grid, right?
That's it.
Yeah, but it's really important, right? I mean, like until people are off the grid,
it's what makes
really
our
matters
modern
quite a bit.
civilization. It is what has we'd still be pushing.
All that test
we'd still
equipment
be
you
horse
love
and cart.
would not run without it, right? I guess,
exactly. And it relies. All of our modern society relies on the fact that we get instant, constant, cheap power. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Without that, that's what separates the first world from the third world, right? We have electricity; they don't. Right?
Yeah. And it's
once
consistent,
right?
right?
It's consistent, yeah. Once you can turn on that light bulb and it stays on, and it's going to come on when you flick that switch, that's the deal breaker. And
definitely.
That brings me to a TED Talk, a great TED Talk I saw last week. Yes, by an MIT professor, Donald Sadoway. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Oh, he's invented the liquid metal battery. It sounds cool, right? It's like the Terminator,
awesome.
from the liquid metal man from Terminator, right? It's awesome.
Yeah.
What he did, you've got to watch the TED Talk, but
okay.
The summary is that he decided to try and solve the problem of grid level energy storage, right? A grid level battery, right? And you know that we can't do that with lithium ion and lead acid and all those battery, right? It's just
you can. You just need a lot of them.
A lot of them, right? Huge series parallel combinations. Too expensive. They use exotic materials, manufacturing processes, and it's just not viable, right? We need that order of magnitude, increase in the technology to make grid level storage viable. Right, and then that's when solar and wind and all that sort of stuff can get backed up during the day and then used at night, and and then the whole thing becomes
awesome.
Awesome. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
and you get those monster inverters too. Those things are awesome. Like the that's what the silicon carbide chip or silicon carbide like FETs and
those big monster.
Diodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they're used for.
Awesome.
And they cost a fortune, but they have those niche applications where nothing else will do the job,
Right.
Except maybe some, 1960s era Soviet valve or something,
Yeah. Mercury switches and everything. Yep.
Right. Anyway, he decided that he thought that that if anyone's going to invent this thing, this grid level storage battery, it is not going to come from somebody who works in the battery industry. Because they're too tied into the philosophy of all the different battery technologies, and let's tweak this, add a little new chemical here, and we'll get an extra 10%. We don't, they need this quantum leap. Yeah, it's an incremental thing. So it wasn't going to come from them. So he totally, started by going right. This battery must use chemicals or metals or whatever that are totally abundant in the universe, right? That are so abundant, are so massively cheap that there's no question about whether or not you can get these materials, right? So he looked at the periodic table of elements and just, ruled out all the ones, scribbled out all the ones that weren't relevant.
That's like
right?
going back to first principles,
First principles. And this is in the TED Talk, and he explains how he did this.
Yeah.
And he, sure enough, found a couple that might be suitable. And then he got the idea that the aluminum smelters for you Yanks, right? Like, how they take huge amounts of power to actually make the stuff, right?
Yeah.
He thought, well, what if you could put that in reverse? and you could, they could put out huge amounts of power by having a liquid metal.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
yeah, and he looked at the periodic table of elements and all this sort of stuff, and he found a couple of salts or something that were that he thought might do the job. So he put it together, and sure enough, they worked. He made this liquid metal battery, and unlike normal battery technology, when you charge it and put energy into it, they heat up, and that's bad, right? Whereas this one works better when it heats up. So it's almost the perfect technology, right? You charge this thing up, and it's
There is no perfect technology, but it's a better technology.
It's a better technology, right? And the other thing is, it's completely scalable in size. So instead of having to put 1,000 cells in parallel, you just make one big cell. So he's talking about making one big cell the size of a shipping container, right? So there is no maintenance issue with all the electronics needed to maintain individual cells and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's just two big salts or something, one on the top, one on the bottom, and something in between, and you can make it as big as you want.
And wrap it in a lot of metal so it doesn't blow up.
And wrap it in a big shipping container. It's a brilliant idea. Anyway, apparently it works, and he's formed this company with his graduate student that he had work on it, and Bill Gates has invested huge amounts of money because one of his big things is finding a battery technology to work on the grid. Anyway, I think it's freaking awesome. He went back to first principles. So
you kind of need to.
If you're going to, I think if you're going to invest in a company, this one's pretty good to. I think something will come out of this. Anyway,
batteries
go and watch the TED
They are
Talk.
a big. Yeah, I will. It's definitely a big topic right now because they've talked about the there's only been these incremental breakthroughs, but I have to be a little skeptical. I mean, obviously I haven't seen it yet, but anytime you see it's totally different, it's like, well, come on, let me see the details first. But if he did it, I mean.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. You wouldn't be on TED probably otherwise.
Stages, right? You can actually buy a battery from them, but it's only the size of a lunchbox or something, right? And it's only half a kilowatt or something like that. But
that's cool.
It ticks all the boxes. Uses abundant chemicals, cheap and scalable, and single cell, and no maintenance, and boom. Woo.
Yeah, I saw a similar article about batteries since we're on the topic. Because what you were talking about with lead acids and other types of batteries is usually the costly part is the cathode.
Yes,
and
the lead.
The cathode
in
nano,
that case.
Right? Because platinum or lithium or whatever's in there, right? And then there's an electrolyte usually. Well, in this case, they found some. I was reading an Economist article about it, and they found some way to make it was a cathode out of paper pulp byproduct.
Oh.
So they're calling it a wood battery, basically.
Right, okay, so we got liquid metal, wood.
Yeah.
What, next to plastic battery? No, plastics too, it'll be...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they have water batteries, right? That's like a fuel cell.
Yeah, of course.
But, man,
right.
it's just crazy. You got to try everything, right? But whatever's going to be easiest to make it, and really cheapest. That's what's
cheap
ultimately
is cheap
drive
and
it.
abundant. Why is lithium so expensive? Why is it? Because lithium is like the third most abundant element in the universe, is it not?
No, I don't believe so. Lithium is the third on the periodic table, but it's not the third most abundant.
Oh, okay. Because I thought, hydrogen, helium, and lithium were formed in the Big Bang or something, and maybe one or two others, but everything else was formed in, the supernova explosions after that. So I thought lithium was somehow magic, or maybe here on Earth it's not abundant, perhaps.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I had something on the spreadsheet from a long time ago. There was actually a thing about lithium wars they're talking about because of how hard it is to find. But I don't know. I know it's not as abundant as
it should
a lot of
be.
other stuff.
Right.
At least maybe not. Maybe it's the elemental form. Maybe that's the hard part of finding it in the elemental form.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's getting into chemistry. I don't. I'm not a huge chemistry person.
No, neither am I. Have to ask the wife again.
Right. Yeah. Geez. We could have her on as a guest.
Right. I don't know.
Weird. That'd be weird.
It would be. That'd be freaky.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. What else have we got on the show?
Oh man, tons of stuff this week. Did you see all this Google stuff? All the Google that was stuff that was announced?
The Google Glass, the where the eye thing. I haven't looked into the details of that, but they jumped out of a plane or something at some demo.
Oh, yeah. And, like, really, the glasses, I mean, it's commercial level stuff, so we usually don't talk about that much on here. But the whole idea behind it is just kind of, it kind of just had me sitting back and saying, man, we're really getting up. Like, it's just like, it feels like it's so far out of, like, my domain that I'm already clueless about it. You know, like, video processing is usually, it's pretty tough when you're doing, like, the actual processing of frames and everything. Like, I worked on that a little bit before, but man, when you start shoving it into, like, these little tiny displays, and then you got, like, the focal lengths and everything, and just all the electronics that are in there, it makes my head hurt. I don't know how they're going to do it, you know, like, and cost-wise, too. I mean, like, it's just, they're just doing some crazy stuff, and it makes me sit back and say, like, oh, that's magic. You know, like that point where they say, like, hardware you can't figure out, I forget what the phrase is. It's indiscernible from magic kind of thing.
Oh, yes. That's
Arthur C. Clarke maybe or something like that.
That would be Isaac Asimov, maybe.
Oh yeah, one of the sci-fi writers.
The official quote is from memory: "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic."
Yeah,
that is the quote.
You're right. That's the quote. Yeah. And that's what it feels like. I mean, it feels like magic to me. I mean, I know it's not, right? I mean,
right, of course.
I'm sure you're going to get your hands on it and tear one down. And I'm like I told you, I told you earlier in the week. I can't wait to see that.
Piece of cake. Yeah, I'll just call up Sergey and.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, what's going on, man?
Exactly.
Calling in my favor. But yeah, I mean, it's it just feels like it's at that point, and I know it's not, right? All of this stuff. I mean, you do teardowns. I rip stuff open. You know, like it's not like crazy, indescribable stuff, right?
No,
everything can be explained.
A team of engineers spent 2 years building it. You know, I mean,
right, exactly.
You know?
But I think about it in terms of like stuff that I've built, and it's like, man, it's not like that. That's what it really comes down to. Is like it's not like that, and that's the point. It's like it's such a new application, and it's such a new. It's so far from anything I've ever done.
The only difference, right, is the application. The technology in it's probably just the same technology that's in all the other shit. It's just the different application of the technology.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
That's true.
I don't think there's
even the application itself. It's existed before. I told my coworker about it. I was all excited. I told my coworker, he's like, yeah, you know, they've had wearable computing and they've had you know, they've had heads up displays for years.
Yeah,
and I'm
I know.
I know, but Google. He's like, so? Yeah, okay, well, yeah.
Yeah,
I get excited easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah. No surprises there. But
no. Oh,
yeah, you know,
boy.
it's just I felt deficient looking at that stuff. It's just it's a very new application for me, so that's why.
That brings up an interesting point we've had on the list for a couple of weeks now. Somebody, ASDF from the that's his handle from the comments on the Amp Hour. Thank you for that. He commented about Valve. You know how all of our guests have gone to Valve to form the hardware group, and you know it sounds fantastic, and they're living the utopian nerd lifestyle there.
Right.
He pointed out that Valve hasn't. Well, these are his words. So Valve hasn't introduced any physical innovation in over 10 years. And he says that without those oppressive management deadlines, in quote marks, nothing appears to get done. So, you know, does he have a point? You know, do you need that oppressive management whip to go whip? You know, whoosh, this thing needs to be out by, a real artist ship is, Steve Jobs' famous line, whether or not he actually said it, but yeah.
Right.
So it's all well, because I've worked in a company like that where you're just allowed to work on anything any cool thing you damn well like. And, and I can tell you, very little of it got out the door. So
yeah, and same with like HP Labs and Bell Labs, a lot of research institutions too, they had
Xerox
very
Park,
interesting stuff.
Back in the, where all the modern technology came from, everything, Ethernet and GUI and all the Apple and... Yeah, it came from Xerox Park.
And I mean, it's often lamented as like, oh, there's a lot of money that's thrown at it, and they don't say it gets wasted. It doesn't become a commercial product.
Exactly.
But I think maybe that's not the best. If it's not a product, that's not necessarily the best measure. If it gets rolled into something else, if you're publishing it, if you're sharing it, then I'd say ultimately it doesn't matter because it's
if
still.
You're publishing and sharing, yes, but what if you're a company like Valve or someone else who doesn't publish and share it. Or, well, I'm making a presumption there. Maybe they do plan on... I think because they just released a software product that allows... which was based on their internal thing, but, I think, whether or not they do the same thing with hardware, I don't know, because software's easy, right? Because software's free. You just release it, right?
Software's not free, Dave.
It's not free to develop. But to actually make the decision to release it, right? Yeah, people can use it. It's usable without costing anyone anything, right?
Right.
So
okay. It's free to distribute.
It's free to distribute and for the end user to use. But hardware is not, right? Hardware always costs money to actually make something.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And there is costs associated with doing it too. But I don't know. What was the question again?
Basically, are they going to actually produce anything out of this hardware team? I don't know.
Call
I hope
Jeff.
They do. Right. Well, I guess it'll take a few years, right? I mean, we need to sit back and wait.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about those guys. They're good people.
But it raises that interesting question. When you have organizations like this that don't have any management infrastructure at all. Really, it's just like a free-for-all. How do things get done? And if any of our audience out there work at such a company, does it work? Let us know.
Yeah. I mean, because you're right. There is cost in that, in the development of it. So, I mean, you'd think eventually they'd want to push it out the door.
See a return on the investment,
Yeah, there was an interesting story this week about Analog Devices. Actually, I don't know if many people caught this. So Analog Devices is this great chip company. They're like the biggest in A to D converters, and they do a lot of great op amps that I like, and a lot of great analog products. They do power too. Power's okay.
Everyone knows who Analog Devices are. Come on.
Yeah, not everyone. Hey, don't make assumptions, Dave. Anyways, they talked about moving their new process to TSMC for their 180 nanometer process. I assume they're at 250 on their current stuff, because people know that analog processes always lag digital, right? Because you hear about 18 nanometer, 21 nanometer stuff. But 180 nanometer is the new analog process. But they're moving it to TSMC, right?
Yep.
And so my question about this is design enough to sustain an analog company these days, right? So previously, Analog Devices did a lot of their own fab work. I mean, I think they split some of it, but much like their competitor Linear Tech and everybody else, they actually had these process tricks up their sleeves where they would tweak this and the process and tweak that.
That was how they were able to get the magic.
Right, exactly. That's the black art. That's what these designers are doing in, not just in the software when they're using the kind of software that Steve Leibson sells, right? Like Cadence or something.
Cadence and all that. Yeah, to actually lay out the devices. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and then also tweaking stuff in the process parameters, in the fab, like actually tweaking parameters in order to make these processes even better.
And that's how they get the specs. They get the ultra low noise, they get the ultra low quiescent current, or they get the ultra low input bias current, or something like that.
Exactly.
It's in that little process tweak. It's not necessarily in the design of the layout of the transistors, right?
Right.
It's
right. And so if you give all that up, what do you have left? I mean,
exactly.
I just question it from I guess a business I'm not business, because it's their business. They can do whatever the hell they want with it. But I guess I question it from a buying perspective, right? If ADI now has the same process as like Touchstone or some other fabless analog startup, where is their advantage then? I just don't get that anymore. I know that fabs are expensive to maintain, because they really are. They're unbelievably expensive, and TSMC and the foundry model looks really attractive, but man, that's like shooting yourself in the foot, isn't it?
Well, I think it likely is. Why would they dump their own fab to begin with? Why do they need to push to 180 nano? Why can't I thought that really didn't buy them much benefit at all by going lower.
To a smaller. Well, when you go to a smaller geometry, remember, you also get smaller die, so you can get more on a wafer.
More on a wafer, but when you're selling premium, Yeah, I guess it always comes
I
down
mean,
to
there's
cost,
always a push
right?
to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's always that push. There's more
But-
chips on a wafer.
Exactly, but you're chopping off your foot, by...
Right,
to
that's
do
the
it.
point
I
I'm
mean-
making is it's crazy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not a lot of people noticed the story this week, but I mean, I think it's a big deal because eventually, right? If
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's probably a high level management move or something like that, and eventually what happens is
the bean counters have taken over the asylum.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
we can lament that as an abstract at any point. We can say, oh well, the accountants are taking over, but when this kind of decision's made, it's very obvious, and if that happens, you really start to lose your edge. I think. I mean, like they're still going to make good products, I'm sure, but you start to lose everything else. So
It'll be interesting to see.
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
and,
they keep a tight leash. Maybe they've got their own little line at TSMC where they can, tweak. The guys with the grey beards from Analog Devices come in and go and tweak it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure TSMC is good at that kind of stuff. Like they do. Foundries can keep stuff separate, but at the same time, if they even said in the article, they said the process was described as a TSMC process. It's expected that TSMC will now be able to offer the process up to customers besides Analog Devices. And it's like, well, crap, man. If you're just handing over the. I mean, it looks great up front because someone else is doing that research for you. But if you're handing over the keys, then that means everybody gets it. So,
oops. Yeah,
I don't know.
They could
commoditizing yourself like that is kind of.
You could come to regret it.
Yeah. So if ADI parts start to stink in about 18 to 24 months, Chris called it.
Well done. Renesas. Yeah. Have you heard about Renesas?
I did.
Speaking of fabs, Renesas have announced that they're in deep financial trouble, right? This is the world's biggest microcontroller manufacturer, if you didn't know, right? It's not Microchip or Atmel or TI. Right. No, it's Renesas.
Right, because they're getting designed into huge
cars
designs.
And washing machines, and they've got and when they merged with NEC, they became the biggest. Anyway, they're in deep financial poo-poo, and they're seeking money from a investment firm called KKR, and anyone who remembers the NXP buyout. Buyout? Was it? No, they also invested...
It was a privatization,
Privatization, yes. And this same company, KKR, they invested in NXP, and NXP went down the toilet. And they lost their investment. Apparently it was written down to like 10% or something. So anyway, they're having a second bite at the cherry, and they're going to take the controlling share in Renesas. And then they're going to slash a third of the jobs, or they already have, or something. Because actually the announcement of the job cuts came before this KKR investment announcement came back in May or something. So, but anyway, and they're going to shut down a bunch of fabs too, apparently. So, I don't know. Things are not going well there.
Well, they got hit by the tsunami / earthquake as well, wasn't that part of it? With
Renesas
fabs?
They recovered in record time. They got their fabs back up and running in 3 months or something. I think it was very quick. But they were, I think they had deeper. That's probably part of it. But they had deeper troubles than that. I think they bought out NEC and they had lots of duplicate product lines and all sorts of, and apparently the parts of the I have to read the article, but the parts of it that are failing are like the system-on-chip type areas of the company. So,
okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Which is that Steve Liebson type level. So maybe he knows all about it.
Guess we'll have to talk to him again.
Yep. But it's not good. So what's going to happen to Renesas? Bought out by the KKR, the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure eventually, like all these chip companies, people are still going to need chips, right? So there's always going to be someone that pops up.
There's going to be demand, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't mean it's going to make it any easier on the people that are designing with it, right? Especially if if you see companies getting split up and put back together and yada yada yada. That's not good for the confidence of designers, right?
I mean, the market's getting messy. We don't like a messy market. We like confidence that the chip we designing is going to be around next week,
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, it's important.
Yeah, we talked to Oyvind about that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That was like their thing. They actually wrote it on their website or something, and that's something we look for. I mean, like just in general, if you're trying to design in a product, you want to make sure that you're not going to be redesigning it in 2 years, because that sucks. Nothing worse than telling your boss, "Oh yeah, about that." Yeah.
And it all falls on your shoulders as the designer. If you're the sole designer, or if you're a group, it still falls on someone's going to take the shaft in for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh boy.
So before we go any further, I totally forgot we had a special offer.
Offer?
Yeah, Circuit Cellar. They offered the Amp Hour listeners actually a discount.
They did.
It's not like advertising, but they just wanted to give our listeners like a discount on their magazine. So Circuit Cellar and Elector are the same magazine. Yep. Yeah. Do you get a subscription or no?
I used to.
You used to?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it currently either, but I don't know. Maybe this will be it. You've been interviewed. I've been interviewed both in Circuit Cellar, right? And
yes.
Yeah. And Elector is more like a hobbyist. Circuit Cellar is supposed to be more like embedded side, but we'll put some links in the comments section. They sent us a link, and it's a really nice offer. So if people are interested in, ponying up for a subscription, it could be worth it. I might try it out myself. So,
is it like a coupon code?
Yeah, it's like a coupon code. You click through, and it'll. I think it's half off for Circuit Cellar, and 25% off for Elector. And it's all because it's Circuit Cellar's 25th anniversary. That's what it comes from.
Yeah. There you go.
So partially for the Amp Hour and partially because of the 25th anniversary. So kudos to them for making it 25 years. And if Dave and I make it 25 years, yeah,
without killing
if we make
each
it
other,
25 years, it's 50% off of the host on this show by that point, I'm sure.
50% off my sanity by that time.
Yeah, right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Electronics, shall we?
Yes.
Well,
what do you got?
It's not electronics. Sorry. Well, it is. Okay, but it's housings, electronics enclosures, right?
Yeah. Is this for the USB power supply?
Yeah,
or
USB power supply, right? So I'm looking at a punched chassis now instead of a like a punched ABS box, right, with the ends, but like holes punched in the ends. Instead of, I was looking for one that had the removable panels at each end, right, so that I could insert like a circuit board panel and I could cut it that way, so I wouldn't have to punch the case. It's just an extra step. Punching the case. It's always extra cost, and you usually have to commit.
Would you do that yourself or no?
Oh no, I would get the manufacturer to do it, and that's why it's usually an extra cost, and because if you get a third party to do it, then you've got handling issues. So you've got to receive the cases, then you've got to ship them off to the supplier, or you get them, them directly shipped there, and then they've got to punch it, and it's messy. And you've usually got minimum volumes, right, for punching cases. So it's usually a big upfront risk and things like that. So
right, and if you try to change your design as someone is known to do, then
exactly. Then
you're stuck with a lot of boxes with those holes in the wrong place.
I'm stuck with 10,000 cases here in the corner of the room. What am I? And they've got holes punched 20 millimeters apart. I want 15 now. Oops.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
Yeah. So anyway, why can't all the manufacturers put their ballpark price in? Like most of the case manufacturers, right, they will offer to customize your case, either silk screening, machining, or whatever, punching holes, most of them will do that if you pay them, money. But why don't they put that pricing on the website, just ballpark pricing, so I can get an idea? I found a company that does.
Really?
Polycase. Yes, Polycase. They've got, you can go to their website and I've put a link in the spreadsheet. Sorry, not in the other one. And they've got a direct link to a PDF sheet of their ballpark pricing for actually customizing their cases. It's great. And there it is. And I'll give you
printing,
some... Yeah, printing and CNC machining. I'll give you an example. And they'll do anything from one case. They'll actually machine one case for you. And or they can go up to thousands, right? But the pricing's there, right down to the cent. They call it ballpark pricing, but it's down to the cent. I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah,
happens
yeah.
there. Right, but if you just want one surface machine, well, no, let's say you want two ends of a case punched, right? You want it machined and holes drilled and all that sort of stuff. If you just want one case, it's $74, right? Which is quite reasonable
Yeah.
for a one-off, right? Somebody's got to
Yeah.
program the machine, handle it, blah, 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 right? And then if you want 10 cases, it drops to $8, right?
Yeah.
And then if you want 1,000 cases, which is the order I'm looking at, right, it's $1 to machine both ends. And it's, it's quite, not only are they reasonable, but they do it any quantity. But the thing
Nice.
I think I love is that they put the prices there, so you don't have to go get a bloody quote from
Yeah.
them for,
You know why you probably like it so much, Dave?
why?
It's from Ohio. This is a Cleveland company. Well, Avon.
It is, that's right.
Avon, Ohio. Yeah, it's like 40 miles from here.
Oh, there you go.
It's the exact opposite side of Cleveland, but yeah.
Right, okay. There you go. Polycase,
That's
thumbs
great.
up to Polycase.
All
Maybe we
right.
should put them onto this episode. Maybe they'll send me some free cases or something. Because we just
Yeah.
gave them up. But, I love that. It makes me want to use them because they put the bloody prices there.
Yeah, and you know what? You
Right.
can, if you're a business too, you could probably charge a couple cents extra just because you do this, right? I mean, because
Of
you're
course.
giving a ballpark, you're probably
Yeah.
padding it, 5%, 10%,
Of course.
whatever.
Oh, of course they're
and then
padding
you can
it, yeah.
you can give it, you can give an extra bit if Dave is a good customer, or, Chris is from Cleveland, why not give him an extra 5%? Like,
Yeah, well,
like those kind of things are priced in because you never want to
No,
publish
of
your
course.
absolute bottom price.
No,
but even
that's
this,
right.
yeah, you're great.
I'm sure it
It's
comes
great.
cheaper, right? If you only want one round hole drilled in each end, I'm sure it's probably cheaper than the $1 for 1,000. Whereas if somebody else wants 20 holes and slots and other things, it's obviously
Right.
not going to be the same price. But I like but ballpark, right? As a designer, that's what you want. You want, is it cost effective to do this, or do I have to choose some other solution, right? Because you've got your
Right.
bomb cost target in mind, or and
Right.
You
And you
just-
don't want to have to wait for the quote. That's the main
exactly.
thing.
You
Like,
want it now. I
yeah.
want to make this decision now. Damn it, and
Yeah. I've been thumping on on distributors about that. Like I want to be able to log in. Like I have a distributor that I go to for most things. I want to be able to log into the distributor site, and then I want to be able to click. All right, here's my account. It knows what company I work for.
Mm-hmm.
It knows where all my discounts are, and then I want to be able to say I need 1,000 of this part, and I don't want to have to send an email. I just want to click. Give me a quote, and even if it takes a half hour versus
Exactly.
2 days, that's awesome. Why doesn't anyone do that? Is that
I
out there?
know.
Does anyone know about this? Like I know DigiKey does. They do like 1,000 now, and I think they do 2,500 on certain things they quote. But I need thousands. I need
10,000.
1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000.
Yep.
I want all that stuff, and I know there's a formula somewhere. Like, just give me the
Right.
formula, put in 5% extra, and just give it to me. That's all I care about.
well, the
because
reason
eventually,
I'll go. Continue. Sorry.
oh no, what is it? What do you think the reason? is?
The reason is that they have to protect their distributorships.
Yeah, but just
but-
no, that's fine. But give it an extra 5%, right? Because eventually, what
Right,
happens is
okay, ballpark.
it's out of the estimate side, right? Engineer's done with it. Okay, my hands are clean, and it goes over to the purchasing agent, and the purchasing agent is going to do their magic anyways, and they're going to go
Right.
back and forth, and then that's great. They're awesome at that. But I don't care. I just need to know for
Ballpark.
a design.
Yes.
Yeah, a ballpark. Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I know.
So why can't people do that? Even if you pad in 10%, that's fine. I don't care. Just give me a ballpark that's better than, oh, well, this chip is $4 in quantity
I
of
know.
one and $1 in a quantity of 100,000.
Even if they
Come
pad
on,
in
man.
50%, it's almost it's still almost
Well, at that
ballpark,
point, I could just pull the number out of my butt if I would put in 50%.
Okay.
That's not a ballpark. That's like the same state, right?
right.
But still, yeah. I mean, having something would be nice.
Oh boy. Yeah, I know.
They'll never do it though. I don't think they'll ever do it.
Don't think so.
No, well, everyone I've asked, I usually get this sour-looking face, and then they start to whimper like, "Don't you like me? Why don't you want to talk to me?
You're trying to put me out of business.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
usually
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
there are these systems in place. People that are new to this. I didn't realize this. Like until a couple of years ago. There's these systems in place, and you think about every salesperson and every distributor rep and every FAE in between you and the people that make chips. And there's a lot of money in there, and there's a lot of just a lot of churn. It's churn. Some of it's necessary churn, but some of it's churn. And to make that more of an efficient system could impact a lot of jobs, and the people that it would impact are the people that you regularly deal with as a designer. So, yeah, I mean, I try and keep that in mind because I like all these people I work with and talk to, but at the same time, I just want the price faster.
Yeah.
So,
I know, because as a designer, you've got to make quick decisions about the direction of a part, or how.
Yeah, exactly.
Waiting a couple of days, it's whipping your ass.
Right, exactly.
Killing
and you
you,
think,
you know?
and sometimes it goes all the way back to a factory, right? So if I go to company X for a new chip, right, and they say $5, and I get back and I say, no, I need 1 million of them. Well, it's going to go back to their pricer person, right? Then they actually have someone who is setting prices, and they will give you like a break if they think it's worth it, and yada yada yada. And it's like, well, why not just have it so that they're tied into a system as well? That's the whole idea I have is. If it just sends them a notice on some centralized system, then they can just type in a new price. That's fine with me, but it's got to go through everybody in between. So,
oh boy,
are you listening? Are you listening, DigiKey or Arrow or Avnet or Future or anyone out there? Is anyone listening? No, none of them are listening. No, that's okay.
Oh boy,
this electronics show. It's not a distributor show.
No.
So, yeah. If someone figures it out, I'll like them.
Can I do something slightly off topic? But it's Australian, so it's cool.
Do I have a choice?
Well, it's actually product design. It flows on from that. There's a new There's a new product from an Australian company, Black Magic Design. They've been in Cole's doco. His long overdue doco. Yeah, they're in there.
Yet? No,
no. He needs funding to spend the time on it.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, I know.
Indiegogo.
He's well aware of all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
gotcha.
Sure it'll happen. Anyway, Black Magic Design, right? They make custom solutions for the video industry. The film industry, like custom software and custom hardware that accelerates all editing of videos and all that sort of cool stuff, right? But they've just released their own camera, their own video camera.
Fancy.
It's like, whoa, like where did this come from? Everyone's going, holy shit, they developed their own camera? Like, and it's really funky looking. Check it out, Black Magic Design. I've put the link in there, I think. Did I send you?
Oh, is this on the Discuss server? Is that where it is?
It's on the Discuss server. I put it on the Discuss server to please.
Dave put in something
there
new.
We go. It's right up the top, dude. It's the first link.
Yeah, there it is. All right. EEV blog.
Yeah.
Submitted something. Whoa, that is funky.
Right?
Wow.
And it kicks ass. Well, it's just the camera at the back. It's not all the big lenses because it uses standard like Canon lenses or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Standard mount. But they developed their own camera, and it's really freaking
fancy,
funky, right? It gives 13 stops of dynamic range if you're into that sort of thing, and that's all right. And it's got this touch screen on and I just like the format of it too. I like
that's cool.
It
looks like the what's that? Is it the red?
It's the red
camera,
the
Epic.
red
The red
one.
Epic.
It's called or something. Yeah, the red one.
Yeah,
it's a similar sort of
both of them.
But it's not like 4K. It's only 2.5K pixels.
Yeah,
but still,
I mean, yeah,
it really is nice. And they developed this. I'm not sure if it's developed in Melbourne where they're based or wherever.
Well,
but
it's interesting
because cameras.
Yeah, that image thing I was talking about earlier, and just how I've worked a little bit on imaging stuff before. The thing I didn't realize is that the thing that limits it now, the thing that used to limit it was the film technology and the mechanics of the the actual. It was a mechanical device before, right? So it was a shutter speed for a still camera, or the lenses for a motion camera. Well, now it's all in the CMOS sensor and then the processing behind it, right?
Yep.
So that's the new thing. So now it's a CMOS sensor, an FPGA, and a fancy processor, and you've got a camera, basically.
Exactly.
And you just add features. And
I'd love to get a teardown of this thing. I'm assuming there's FPGAs galore in here, which is doing all the heavy processing, heavy real-time processing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I assume they're doing processing in there. I'm not sure.
It looks like it just based on the screen on the back, the LCD.
Yeah, and just doing histograms and, stuff like that. And all the fancy.
Well, that's cool.
I can't believe they developed their own camera.
Yeah,
It's
man. Go.
only the big names do that, right? Only the Canons and the the huge,
that's
massively
what I'm
funded
saying.
companies, right?
Not anymore. Now it's these fancy.
It's
it's
a small
people.
company. I'm not sure how big Black Magic are, but I thought
it's-
they were just this small Melbourne Australian company who did a few plug-in PCI cards for,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, now all the magic, the black magic, is now in that image sensor. That's what I'm saying. Is that not all of it, because there is a lot of image processing. Yeah.
Well, they've
But,
obviously done a deal with somebody who makes sensors. They're obviously not making their own sensor and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's
That's
just
cool.
great.
That's really cool.
It's cool. I'd love to get a teardown of
Definitely.
this sucker. It'd be awesome. So maybe
Yeah.
when I'm in Melbourne, I have to visit them, and maybe we can
go knock on their door.
Yeah, maybe they've already got one that's in pieces, prototypes. I'd love to see the breadboard prototype,
Yeah. So speaking
very
of local design, we had some local design, as in listeners of the Amp Hour.
Local?
They actually wrote in about it. Mike Kershaw, he's developing this thing called the Kismet, I think it is. But basically, it's
Gesundheit.
I know, right? it's a Zigbee. I think it's Zigbee. Yeah, it's a Zigbee. It's a Zigbee protocol analyzer, basically. But this guy Mike's doing this, and he's one of our listeners. So how you doing,
Cool.
Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, and it's kind of the way I try to figure it out is I was like, so it's like Wireshark for Zigbee, and I don't think it was quite that, but it's
Right.
It looks really cool. It's like all open source hardware, and he's
Sweet.
got like a software backend on it and everything, and yeah, it looks really cool. So people should definitely go check that out. It's all done in KiCad, and yeah,
Awesome.
listener powered awesomeness.
Brilliant. Open source hardware, it's never ending, is it? Everything's open source.
I don't see it slowing down yet. I don't know.
No, it's going great guns.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got? 10 minutes left. What do we got?
10 minutes left.
Because you've got this
list.
magic new list. Everyone can see our things we're going to talk about. I don't think we've used a single thing from the list except mine, have we?
Some of this stuff was on there. Yeah, I know the Renaissance stuff I put on there. So if people don't know what Dave's talking about, on the Discuss forum, on the discuss.theampower.com, I've been putting, like, me and Dave have talked about the list before, but basically the list is now public. Me and Dave are throwing news items up on there now, and you can discuss them if you'd like to. You can add your own stuff, and we can look at that. But yeah, it's just an easy way to collect links and collect thoughts about the links. So
Should we separate it out as opposed to the main discussion server? Or that kind of defeats the purpose because you want people to discuss each topic, right?
Yeah,
That's
think
the
everything...
idea, is that the topic's there automatically and then they can...
Yeah. No, I think in the
about
best case scenario, like if people are discussing something throughout the week on the discussion server, that we could just as easily bring it up and add our opinions on air, and then we automatically win, right? I mean, we get our final word, and then people could yell at us on the discussion server as well. And
Cool.
Yeah. So we actually had someone write in about the XMOS processor. Have you ever used those at all?
I haven't used them. No, they're an ultra low power thing, aren't they?
It's the idea of like a software-defined silicon. I was just researching a little bit, and I had never used one, but I've used FPGAs before, and Dave, I know you used FPGAs before, and I think they're supposed to like kind of fill that gap in between FPGAs and processors. And
does such a gap even exist? You've got to,
well, yeah,
you've got to ask, because there's already that blur. The FPGAs now have hard silicon on them to do the to do the microcontroller type stuff. So you got the crossover there, and likewise the microcontrollers are coming with little embedded sort of FPGA fabric in them. So they both you're being forced from both sides. Both sides are crossing over into each other's territory. So where does that leave XMOS if it is a bridge-in technology? I guess you could call it.
Well, I was looking at it on. It's definitely multi-threaded. I was looking at it just on Wikipedia and on their own site. And that's kind of the main crux behind it is you develop these threads and you have multiple of them going on, And some of our listeners actually talked about it a little bit on the discussion server. They Casbah's used it. He said that's one of the guys on the server, but he didn't end up using it in the final product. And basically, though, it is that idea of like a multi-threaded application. Like if you have many things going on at once, and that is usually where processors break down, right? I mean, if you're you have to context switch usually if you're doing something on a processor versus if you had something that was actually, if you had silicon that was actually doing multiple threads at the same time, it would be the equivalent of like a multi-core but actually integrated. Exactly. That would be kind of the idea. And it's their own core. It's not. It's the X core. It's not ARM. It's not a variation of that, as far as I can tell. Right. It's the X core. So it's completely unique to them. So. Yeah, and I keep seeing things pop up about XMOS, and every time I'm kind of like, oh, like what is this? And it seems like there is like a pretty tight knit group around it. Like there is pretty good forums and everything. So if there are other people out there that have used it, I would be interested in just seeing more projects, even where it really did excel. Because the Casbah that wrote in about it, he said they didn't even use it on their final right. rev. So maybe there's some kinks to work out, but it seems like a cool idea. Especially if the cost was lower, because FPGAs and even multi-core kind of things can be kind of pricey right now. But if the XMOS wins on the price, then like you said, like we were talking about power at the very beginning of the episode. If you're the lowest cost, you're almost always, people will find a use for it somehow, even right. if they just use the single thread.
Yeah. Well, so, I'm interested to know why did he drop the core? If it like he was using it and then it didn't make it in the final product, well, that's a big, turnabout. You can't just, halfway through the development cycle go, well, I'm going to ditch my entire processing architecture and go with something else. That's a huge call.
Yeah, he said it was overpowered, basically.
Oh,
so
right.
Probably cost versus what it had.
Right.
And
okay.
Yeah. That'll do it,
Yeah, that'll do it every time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially if someone's...
that last send off, son.
Well, if you have that management deadline like we were talking about earlier, that'll usually make you say, well, maybe we should just go to this thing that works already. Make a little tiny trade-off where we change the entire architecture of the system. Whatever, no big deal.
Now, you put a thing on the list about a company called Meanwell.
Meanwell, yeah.
I've used this stuff.
You have?
Yeah,
okay.
They make some excellent DC to DC, like light-in, like power transformers and stuff like that, like a little brick. I'm using them for my LED lighting out on my back porch.
Oh, okay.
And they're actually like fairly well-respected, as far as I'm aware, fairly well-respected, DC to DC converters and power converters and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about, power supplies, a lot of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they're a fairly good brand.
I just, I was going through a newsletter, and their name, they must have done some advertising, so for the first time ever, it's worked on me.
Right.
But it worked because I was like, what is this name? And they're old. They're from 1982. Like, that's before I was born. That's like when they started, but just the name of the company, like, it's like, were they kind of like padding their future? It's like, in case something broke down, they could say, well,
we meant well.
We mean well. That's what it all was, I was like, really?
It's just one of these, Asian names for things.
Well, yeah,
that,
like, is it lost in translation kind of thing? I don't know.
Hilarious. Asians, for some reason, love giving these hilarious names. I don't know whether they're deliberate or, happy, joy, lucky PCB company,
Right, yeah.
Maybe.
As if
it somehow appeals to us Westerners,
Well, or if you add more like positive sounding words in, the better it is, right?
Yeah,
it's like you're like one-upping it, right?
Maybe they're taught that in their MBA school. You must have a positive sounding company name.
Yeah, maybe it's in the playbook, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they were just hedging their bets. I don't know. Please
send us your best names, and we'll go through them next week if we can get a list.
If only we had a place to drop all these things.
Of the best, happy-go-lucky PCB company, names like that, One Hung Low,
Oh, yeah. And that's a real name, too, right? Because we always talk about that, but that's a real name, right?
Well, no, it's not.
I thought it was. I thought there was a real One Hung Low.
No, I made it up. No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
made
I
up.
always thought that. I thought it was like a thing that like became a parody of itself. I thought that was. No, all right.
No, sorry. No, as
Okay.
far as I'm aware, there is no genuine One Hung Low company. There's one that sounds close. I've got a photo.
Maybe that's what it was.
Doug, my mate Doug, who used to use the term One Hung Low. That's where I got it from.
Okay. Okay.
And he actually opened up a product and he found a power transformer inside that was very similar to One Hung Low name. I'll have to sort of post a photo,
give him
get
a
that
shout.
one. Post a photo
Yeah.
of that. So,
Nice.
One Hung Low. So please, if you've got those, put them on the list. Put them in the. We'll put one category in the
Yeah, I'll add a
discussion
thread.
forum, right? We'll have
Yeah.
a thread there.
How are we
That's
doing
the
on
word I
time?
wanted.
Because I had a couple last things I wanted to mention. Now that I've finally looked at the discussion forum. Two things. Okay, so first off, there's a shout out that I didn't get to. There's actually a new podcast, not a new podcast, but a podcast I just found out about, the Retro Computing Roundtable (RCR) podcast.
Ooh.
So it's rcrpodcast.com. They kind of go over, I guess, like old architectures, the 80s and 6502 kind of
was a
stuff.
boy.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And so if you go through, they have a lot of talking about 6502s are obviously a big one.
I love vintage
C64s.
computers.
Yeah.
Huge
yeah,
fan.
so that's cool. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but it's on my podcast list.
I think I'm going to check that one out.
All right. And another thing is, I'm not sure if we talked about this on here ever before, but I saw a couple weeks ago a visual representation of the 6502 since it's in the same.
Yeah, we've done it before.
we have talked about
have.
that.
I'm sure we
Okay.
have.
I saw it
Maybe
posted
I'm wrong,
somewhere, and
but-
I'm like, I don't remember
Maybe
if
it's
we
just
did. But
been
if
on
not,
the list for 2 years.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But it's pretty cool. I didn't remember having seen it, so maybe I didn't click through to it before. But you can actually see all the registers lighting up and everything, so it's kind of cool. And
Sweet.
finally, to bring it all full circle, the chip of the week this week is a single cell solar cell energy harvesting chip from TI. Basically,
TI again?
TI again, yeah. But I think this is actually national previously. It's tough because
right.
they
Okay.
they,
Yeah,
you know,
they've
they pulled
rebranded
in all those
everything,
chips.
and their data sheets are weird now. They've got like a weird
Yeah.
combo in there, and they try and rebrand the
Yeah.
national data sheets as now.
and the app notes actually. I was looking at an
Yeah.
old app note, and they just slapped TI on it now
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah.
So that was someone's job to go through and
I'm
redo all
sure
the
it
headers.
was. The work experience engineer, you know.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this is it's a lot of people are trying to capitalize on green stuff. National Semiconductor specifically, actually, the BQ25504. But basically, it takes it's only 330 nanoamps when it's off. So it's just a boost converter, right? There's a lot of chips
Right.
like this out there now where they're just boost converters, but it's just the scale of the boost that is pretty crazy. So the cold start voltage, which is basically the minimum amount you needed to get started, is 330 millivolts. That's all you need in order to get this thing cranking, right?
How do they even get the transistors working at that?
I have no idea. I'm thinking they probably have some kind of charge pump that actually has like a 330 millivolt Zener in there or something. So when it finally starts to conduct,
Right,
current, and then it actually cranks on.
Yep.
But then after that, it can run on only 80 millivolts. So if your solar
what
cell,
the frig?
yeah, I know, right? So if your solar cell drops because it gets dark or something, but it's still generating 80 millivolts in a loaded condition, it can still like pump charge into a battery or a super cap or something like that.
That's insane.
And yeah. So that's like a single tiny little solar cell, and you could charge a big battery, and then eventually you could use it to do an RF transmission, or you could just do it for simple like wake up processing with like a
Right.
real low power processor like a
Yep.
MSP 430 or something like that, or one of the other ones that's out there, Energy Micro or something.
Right.
So definitely cool, and you're probably not buying any grid level energy that's using solar cells that need this little chip. But if some of our listeners are doing projects with solar cells, it's pretty cool, I thought.
I agree. Chip of
Yeah.
the week.
Definitely.
That's it for this
So
week.
that is it.
It's all over.
It's all over. Next week we will have another guest. We're getting good at
who
this.
Have we got?
Oh, it's my friend Philip, and I hate to say I don't know how to say his last name yet. Frieden, I think that's how you say it. I meant to ask him before the show because I always see it, and sometimes you just see last names.
Yeah.
Anyways, I asked him, how he wanted to be known, but basically he was an architect on the Vertex, Vertex 2, Vertex 4, and the Spartan, and the XC4000, and an architect of the Risk AM29000.
How old is that?
That's one of the. Well, there was the 3030 was one of the first ones, right? And the 3000 series. So yeah, pretty early, and he's a really cool guy. We got to hang out with him out at Maker Faire, and so he's going to be on the show next week, and we will have a thread going on the discussion server, and I think Dave might be more excited than anyone, because even though I think Philip's now officially resident in the U.S., he is an Aussie, and he does sound like Dave.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
He went to the dark side. He's actually a U.S. citizen?
I think so.
Decided
He's
to
been
become
here
a U.S.
time.
citizen?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Fail.
Australian transplant into Silicon Valley. So he's... Yeah. So he's got his own projects going on now, too. He can tell us all about the history. We'll have we'll have a discussion thread going on the discussion server. So people should just leave questions about
So is he still working there or doing that stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
He's full go. He'll tell us about his current projects and stuff. So,
all part of the furniture, is he?
What?
He's part of the furniture. It means he's been there a long time. He's.
Oh, yeah. He's been around. He's done some cool stuff. So he's gonna be a good guest. And
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Check out the discussion server if you haven't already. It's awesome. Dave's tried it out once now, and he loves it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye.